Sifu isn't a fighting game. Sifu is a stylish yet gritty beat-em-up game developed by SlowClap, with a full release in 2022 that received good reviews and was even nominated in several categories at the Game Awards. But the real question isn't whether or not Sifu is good, because it is. You should play it. The real question is Sifu a hard game? Not for me, it isn't. In fact, Sifu is so easy that I'm going to beat it without dying a single time. Because I am literally just that good. Okay, that music really needs to stop. Once you load up the game, you play as John Sifu, a man so edgy that you could cut yourself on him. You get a taste of the gameplay as you make your way through what appears to be a martial arts dojo, where you beat up a ton of innocent students and even seemingly random people until you reach the final boss, the real Sifu, means teacher. After a quick sparring match that is totally innocent, the game reveals that you are in fact not the main character. Instead, you'll be playing the rest of the game as a child who crawls out of hiding and, oh, they're dead. After resurrecting, thanks to the help of unexplained magical artifact, the game finally begins, and we are introduced to one of the coolest death mechanics I've personally seen in gaming. Of course, you won't get to see that mechanic in action because I don't plan on dying, but I will explain it to you. You see, that unexplained magical artifact has some pretty cool properties, including and not limited to the ability to run it back, where you decide not to die at the cost of simply losing 1 year of your lifespan, which is much less of an inconvenience. Not so fast though, because for each successive death, you will age faster and faster unless you manage to lower the counter by either beating special enemies in the level or beating the stage completely. If you exhaust your coin collection by dying after age 70, that's game over. Luckily, I don't have to worry about game overs, because I'm not gonna— oh, that's a lot of people. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the unexplained magical artifact isn't the only trick you'll have up your sleeve here. You'll also have access to a skill tree that, like, literally it's a fucking tree, that totally makes the game way too easy for someone like me. You'll also get access to some buffs that you can unlock at these Jade checkpoint shrines throughout the level, which unlock based on your performance to give you another edge up. But I always make sure to choose the worst possible one so that I'm not at too much advantage against the many enemies that come my way. Worst possible ones. Speaking of said enemies, they're probably the main reason this game is so easy. I mean, they go down so quickly. It doesn't help that they don't come at you more than one at a time, nearly as much as they should. Huh? Not that this game is a peeler of realism or anything, but even an incredibly skilled martial artist couldn't do much against more than 5 people at once. Probably. This means that you just get to beat their asses one after the other until you've cleared the area of all those pushover lackeys who don't know the meaning of teamwork. Still, it does feel kind of satisfying, even when you're a bit messy about it, and that's mostly because of the insanely cool combat system that kicks absolute ass. Literally. Sometimes it's yours. The combat in this game has become one of my favorite systems out there, though I will admit I haven't played a ton of games in the same category as Sifu. Whatever category that is, anyway. What the fuck? It's not that it's particularly different from other beat-em-up types. Sifu still has your combo attacks and skills, like I mentioned before, that expand upon the basic attacks and increase your options for approaching a fight. Of course, I don't use them, because I don't need to. Definitely not because I suck. The main standouts to me are more so how the combat flows, and how fun and satisfying it actually feels to take on multiple enemies and win regardless of your current skill level. I find Sifu just as satisfying to play now that I'm an unbeatable god of kung fu as it was when I was a sad virgin nobody who played video games and lived with his parents. None of those things have actually changed, but it's still fun, even though I'm way better. And that's the point. Of course, the way the combat works starts to differ once you take the bosses into account. First, you've got Gardener Fred, who is a piece of cake to deal with, as you'll soon see, followed by Secondhand Smoke Sean, Liberal Arts Major Kuroki, Museum Karen Jinfang, and, of course, the edgelord himself, John Yang. While it's possible to tackle these bosses in a similar way to the rest of the game, they all tend to be more durable and harder to break than any other sort of enemy. But that's just how bosses tend to be structured anyway. The problem with facing them like that is more so that each boss has their own gimmick. Button mashing isn't going to work out the way you might think. They're going to vary in difficulty based on what kind of player you are. But the only surefire way to beat them that I've found, aside from simply being as good as I am, is to really get in the rhythm of their individual attack combos and the flow of their movement. You know, basic shit. Know when to dodge versus when to parry, know whether to break their guard or wear down their health, and so on. Regardless, I think the boss fights are all unique enough from each other and their normal enemies that they add an extra element of fun without being difficult for no reason. If I had to give a critique, it would be that they take away from the more realistic tone that the rest of the game takes combat-wise, but even then I can't fault it too much, given a magical artifact is one of the core gameplay mechanics. Okay, but seriously, Sifu is a hell of a game. It's not something that would find its way onto my greatest of all time list or anything, but it is a fun ride with a lot of replayability and really cool game mechanics. While it might be easy for someone like me, it will certainly pose a challenge to a lot of less savvy individuals. But I don't think anyone should let that stop them from giving it a shot. If you're a fan of old martial arts movies and just action in general, then you'll probably enjoy Sifu for the feel of the game itself. I know I sure have, and I haven't even made it to the second boss yet.